Hope y'all are well. I'm just gonna hop right into this. Today we are discussing rescripting your life and some of the step-by-step ways that if there is something in your life that you're not happy with, that you can switch up your narrative. So in order to do this though, we need to undergo a mindset shift with this. So the first thing you want to do to rescript your life is you want to actually think about what is your lore, okay? So the lore of your life. So they've been talking a lot about main character energy, all right? Like we definitely need to be in our main character energy in order to rescript our lives, okay? And that's really seeing that a lot of the world that we've been living in and surrounded by has been based upon illusion, okay? And so that requires a mindset shift. A lot of times when we go through certain things, it can feel really real and like really stagnant, like that is the finality. But in order to get into the energy of rescripting your life and get into that main character energy, it's knowing that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, and it can always be transmuted. So whatever you're going through at any particular time in your life, you are the author and you can rewrite your script. Now, in order to do that, that does mean taking responsibility for whatever you have going on in your life, okay? So if you have felt as though you've been the victim, first of all, pause, take a breath, and think about why that has happened, okay? So sometimes one thing we need to know when we're in this false matrix system is a life or a reality is scripted for us, okay? This is usually, this can be usually seen within your astrology chart. I am somebody who really does think it's good to know what your astrology chart is. And one thing I work with folks on, like when I started working with them as clients and that sort of thing, one of the first things we'll do is we will look at the astrology chart. We'll kind of see where the placements are, but I really do think that astrology keeps you in a box. So one thing I really tell folks is that we learn our astrology charts so that we can transcend the astrology chart, okay? So what do I mean when I say this? So astrology keeps us very limited. And if we know what those limitations are, we can see what the roadblocks are. And that's where we can find the script of our life. That's where we're able to understand what's been scripted for us, so we know what to rewrite. Okay, so that's you finding out your lore. So step number one for rescripting your life is discovering what the lore of your life is. What's the script that was designed for you? What's the box that was designed for you? Okay, you may have been finding that you've been living in this kind of hamster wheel and you haven't really felt like you've been able to break free from certain limitations. A lot of times that means that you are still living within the lore that the false matrix created for you, okay? So the first thing you want to do to embody main character energy and to rescript your life is to see what has been scripted for you already, okay? So that's the first thing that you want to do, is you want to discover and learn the lore of your life, okay? So the next thing you want to do then is write what the lore of your life is, okay? So this is kind of you taking a step back from your life and like you living in it. What you would want to try to do is get out a piece of paper and a pen, right? And just write out the lore of your life as if you are in the third person, okay? So utilize your name. So if your name is Jessica, for example, you would write out, Jessica was born, right? And then you would just kind of write out all of the things in your life that have happened. And particularly you want to focus in on the things that have felt the most problematic for you, the things that have felt the most difficult for you. You would actually want to start there in order to alchemize it, okay? So I really like to work with the shadow. I like to embrace the shadow head on, because I believe that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, and that it can always be alchemized. So if we can focus on the largest shadow aspects and bring them into our circumstance, then it's a lot easier for us to transmute the shadow, okay? So what you would do is you would write out the lore of your life in the third person, okay? So the next thing you would want to do is look and read the lore of your life. Okay, decide, is this a life that I planned on living? Is this the life of my dreams? Okay, and so you would want to have a pretty honest conversation with yourself at this point. You would want to really think about, okay, what do I want to shift? Okay, what shifts do I want to make? Okay, and what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to look at the lore of your life, and you'll be able to look at the adjectives, focus in on the adjectives of the lore of your life, okay? So, for example, if you have an adjective that maybe says happy, highlight that. If you have one that says tragedy, or tragic, highlight that one. Highlight all of the adjectives, and then look at all of the adjectives that are highlighted within the lore of your life and decide, are these the adjectives that I want to describe my life from now until the end of my life? Once again, having an honest conversation with all the shadow aspects of self that might come up during this activity. And if you don't, then you can rescript it and you can rewrite it. And so what you would want to do is you would want to take the script of your life that you've written, and then you would want to rewrite the script and imagine that you are the author of a book, the book of your life, or the director or the screenwriter of the play or movie of your life, and you would want to make edits. This happens all the time in like Hollywood films, right? A story will start off one way and it will end one way, and then a director will come in or a writer will come in and say, you know what, let's shift this, let's make it this ending, okay? And that requires a certain level of empowerment, okay? Knowing that you are a creator being. When I work with folks, it's always about returning back to your source essence and you being God, goddess in form. And you have to firmly believe that somewhere within the depths of your being, okay? You have to know that you have the power to rewrite your script. Okay, and do that. Maybe you're not, maybe you kind of believe that, but you don't fully believe that. That's okay. Still write that out and consider it a fun, creative project that you're doing, okay? So then you might be like, okay, well, yeah, that's all fun and games theoretically, but how do I change the way I rewrote the lore or the script of my life? How do I materialize that? Because that's really what this process, this whole spiritual journey that we're on, it's bringing the non-physical into the physical. It's being able to command our reality, okay? And that takes, number one, it takes confidence. It takes a lot of shadow work, and it takes a lot of intention to be able to do that. And so that's why I'm a really, really big proponent on soul contracts, okay? So I want you to think about the last time you went to the store, okay? The last time you went to the store, it doesn't matter if you went to the store to buy a pack of gum, or you went to the store to buy an outfit, or you went to the store to buy a car, purchase a car, whatever it was, there was paperwork attached to it, no matter how small the item was. So if there's paperwork attached to very small and non-sequential items within our lives, what would make you think that that wouldn't be the same on a soul level, okay? So there might be a lore or a script running within your unconscious that you're gonna have certain levels of heartbreak, that you're going to have certain levels of limitation, all right? So what you would want to do is, after you rewrite the lore of your life, you would actually want to focus in on what soul contracts might be running to keep these systems playing out, to keep these narratives, these scripts playing out within your field, within your DNA. A lot of times this lore is actually not just playing out in our subconscious mind, but it's also playing out in our DNA. And that's when we also need to get into ancestral healing too, because a lot of times you might be living a script or reliving a script that was within your ancestors' DNA. And maybe your ancestors experienced a lot of pain and a lot of heartbreak. And that's lodged, that maybe that was lodged within a certain portion of their physicality. And that was also transcribed into their DNA, which was passed on to you. And that is now your DNA, okay? So in order to rescript your life, you start with the very, very basic fundamental things of figuring out what your lore is, embodying your main character energy. And if your life was a movie, would it be a comedy? Would it be a drama? Would it be a romance? Would it be a tragedy? Okay, what would be the lore of your movie? Okay, and then you would want to write about your lore in the third person. Okay, so take your emotions out of it and imagine that you are just a character in a movie, and think about your life and write about your life as if you were that character. Okay, then you would want to highlight all of the adjectives that you find within that movie or within that script. And then you would want to decide, are those adjectives things that I want to stick by for the rest of my life, or do I want to shift to the narrative? Okay, so then you would rewrite the script and really focus in on the adjectives, because adjectives are describe things, right? They describe the way we feel. They describe our emotions. They describe the quality of things, okay? So you would want to really focus in on rewriting those adjectives. And then get into your unconscious or subconscious mind to find what soul contracts are running, okay? You may have taken vows of poverty. You may have taken vows of heartbreak. You may be somebody who wants to travel and see the world, and yet you may have taken vows to be in fear of doing the exact same thing that your heart wants to do. We need to rewrite those things, and we need to find out where those scripts are and author a new narrative, okay? And that can be done through soul contract revocation. This is something I support folks with on Patreon. So I have this like PDF right now around revoking soul contracts, where it kind of takes you step by step throughout this process, and then also supports you with scripts, you know, helping you to script out what your soul contract revocation is, depending upon the topic that's at hand. So if you're interested in that, definitely head on over to the Patreon. And on top of that, this is something I work with folks one-on-one in coaching, okay? Because it's one thing to dream. I'm a very big dreamer. I'm a very big picture creative person. And at the same time, the devil is in the details sometimes. So it's important to embrace the dream, but it's also really important to look at the fine print of the things that you've consented to in your life, the scripts that you've consented to in your life, the scripts that were passed down to you within your life, so that you can transmute those things, okay? And that's how the alchemical process begins. It begins with the big picture dreaming, but it also begins with the fine print of the details, okay? So those are just some of the examples that I have around rescripting your life. The ancestral healing piece can be really intensive. It's something I refer to as genetic path cutting. I have some content on YouTube about that, so definitely check out the YouTube at The Goddess Keys to learn more about that. And also, I'll be rolling out some other offerings for the community for people who are really seeking this genetic path cutting journey at this time. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. Like, just know that you, at the end of the day, are God, Goddess in form, and your journey is learning all of the places, all of the periods of time that either you or your ancestors gave your power away, okay? That is where the magic occurs. Until we go through, we navigate the darkness of the shadow, to alchemize the shadow so that we can embody more of the light in our day-to-day reality, okay? Because you are the author, you are the creative director, and you are the magician, all right? So if you're interested in learning more about working with me, check out the links below. If you're ready to take the deep dive, let's do it, y'all. Peace.